Hello and welcome to Module 5. In this module, we'll be doing another sign up and first deposit match offer, and we'll be doing it on another well-known bookmaker in Australia, that is Ladbrokes. This time we're going to be taking a more in-depth look at the calculation of our trades, and to do this we're going to take a look at how our money moves following a resulted trade, and more specifically how it moves differently depending on whether your bookmaker bet wins or whether your betting exchange bet wins. At the same time, we'll also be looking at the terms stake returned and stake not returned and how they relate to qualifying and bonus trades. Now, before we go ahead, I should mention that the free software by Bonus Bank that we've been using, the ATM Lite, only covers the bookmakers tab and Sportsbet. So in order to access the rest of the bookmakers on the ATM, and that includes Ladbrokes, we'll need to upgrade to a premium subscription of Bonus Bank. Now I've sent you all a promo code which will give you the first week free, so you'll still be able to follow along in using the ATM in this module. If you'd prefer a free method that allows you to find profitable trades without the use of the Bonus Bank ATM, I've made a sub lesson that runs you through how to do the process of finding your trades for free. And I will tell you during the module when to click over to that sub lesson so that you can still follow along, because in this module I'll be using the ATM. Now, although it does definitely work, this method is not nearly as efficient as the ATM. And what I mean by that is that the trades that you find on the ATM generally are going to have a lower percentage loss on your qualifying trade and a higher percentage return on your bonus trades. Now, as well as this loss in efficiency, the manual method is much more time consuming, because we're going to have to sift through lots of different games and lots of different sets of odds in order to find something that's suitable for us to trade on. Whereas with the ATM, the odds on the bookmaker and the odds on the exchange are scanned for you, and the best trades out there are presented in front of you automatically. And the resulting increase in your profits and decrease in the amount of time you need to spend trading means that Bonus Bank tends to pay for itself quite quickly, and you do end up making a lot more money over the long run. So it is up to you guys whether or not you'd like to continue with Bonus Bank or use the free method, but the sub lesson is there if you'd like. So with that cleared up, we will start by heading over to Ladbrokes and signing up for an account. Again, we're making sure that the details that we enter match our license. And you can see here that we've been given a deposit match offer right away. So it's going to be a little bit easier than what we had last time on Sportsbet. And as you can see there, it's quite a substantial offer at a 100% match up to 250 in bonuses. So certainly the largest deposit match that we've seen so far. It also has a couple of options here. You can opt for a smaller deposit match. However, we always want to go for the biggest deposit match possible that gives us the most amount of bonus bets and therefore the most amount of profit. Now, if you don't receive an offer right away like I have here, you might have to wait a couple of days or maybe even up to a week before you get an offer sent to you via text or email, and then you can capitalize on a first deposit match. And if you are one of those people that currently doesn't have an offer in front of them, it's still good for you to follow along with this module and try to learn as much as you can of the concepts that we cover in this module. And then once you receive that deposit match, you can come back and turn that over. And if you need to follow along still, then you can come back to the module and watch it again. And we'll make sure that we click deposit later, because we are yet to verify the account, which is something that we always need to do before we make any deposits into an account. So speaking of that, the first thing we'll do is head over to our account and verify. And if you had any trouble verifying the account, you can just click on the help and FAQs button there. And there's a help doc here that runs through how to verify your identity on the account if you didn't understand how that was supposed to be done. And then also if you have more specific issues, you can click the contact support button. And once that's done, you should see here that your ID has been verified, and you'll see over to the right that it says you need to verify your credit card. Now, we haven't seen this yet in the practical modules that we've been doing, but it is a common requirement of bookmakers that you also verify your credit card that you use to make your deposits. Now, we can't verify our card until we've made our first deposit, so once we've made our first deposit, I'll cover how to verify the card once we've done that. Next thing we'll do is we'll make our first deposit. To do that, we'll head over to our bonus section and click on the deposit button to the right of our offer there. Once that's gone through, you should see the bonus deposited into your account, along with the cash amount as well. So with regards to splitting up our bonus size for those who are operating with a smaller bankroll, like we did on Sportsbet, Ladbrokes has actually made that a little bit easier for us. That's because when we get a deposit match with Ladbrokes, we are given bonus cash, not bonus bets. Now, these are two different things, and they're both offered on Ladbrokes. And the point of difference between bonus cash and bonus bets is that bonus cash can be staked at any size. So if we take our example of our $250 we have in bonus cash in the account right now, we could go ahead and place a $10 bonus cash bet, or a $200 bonus cash bet, or a $250 bonus cash bet, and it doesn't matter. We are not bound by any particular stake size. Now, with a bonus bet, we are bound to a particular stake size. So if we take the last module with Sportsbet as an example, where we had a $100 bonus bet, that bonus bet could only be staked at $100 because it was a $100 bonus bet. The value of it is set. And if we wanted to use smaller bonus stake sizes, we actually had to split the bonus up into smaller bets before we went to place those bets. So when we arrive at looking on the ATM and sizing up our stakes on the calculator, anyone who is operating with a smaller bankroll can just go ahead and lower their stake size however they see fit. And the next thing we'll do is head over to the ATM. And before I go any further, the people who have followed along so far in using the ATM and they have decided they would prefer not to go ahead with a premium subscription of Bonus Bank in order to still have access to the ATM with all the bookmakers that are available, including Ladbrokes, of course, then I'll get you to click out of this video and click on the sub-lesson titled Finding Trades Manually. Again, you have been sent a code via email that gives you access to the premium ATM for free for a week. So you can still follow along throughout this module with me and use the ATM if you'd like with no extra cost. So now we'll head over to Bonus Bank. We'll fill this out and we'll just make sure that we click the discount code button there and you paste in the code there that you've been sent via email. Once you've signed up, we'll head back over to the module homepage and click on the link to the ATM. So we'll set up the ATM, make sure that we have one downward arrow on the SNR column, the bookmaker set to Ladbrokes, the market set to match odds, and then also the max lay odds of 8. So we'll start by looking at the SNR column for any trades that have a percentage return of over 70%. So we can see the top one here, Man City versus Arsenal, has a return on bonus of 73.45%. So that's good, that's over 70%. But if we head over to liquidity, we can see that it's not enough. And I should mention that for this example, I'm going to do a $125 bonus, just because trying to turn over $250 in bonuses can be quite difficult with a standard sized bankroll of $400 to $700. So since we don't have enough liquidity there, we'll head down to the Leeds versus Liverpool game. We're still up over 70% with a 73.21% return on bonus and plenty of liquidity there with a max back stake of over 2,000. Again, we'll start by copying the name of the team, and then we'll head over to Ladbrokes and paste that in. And these search functions on the bookmakers can sometimes be a little bit fiddly, so you might have to play around with it a little bit. Then we'll head over to Betfair and we'll do the same thing. Then we'll open up the bonus trade calculator and start filling everything in. We'll start with our back odds. We do our lay odds. The bonus bet stake for this example is 125. However, your bonus stake might be smaller if you have a smaller bankroll. And then we'll check our lay commission. And then our lay stake should pop up there, so we can copy that and paste that over on the exchange. And for this example, the amount needed in the Betfair account is $431.78. So with that in, we'll start doing our final checks. We'll check the back odds against what we have on the bet slip on our bookmaker. And then we'll check the lay odds on what we have over on Betfair. A bonus stake for this example of 125. So we'll enter in 125 and make sure we tick bonus cash. And we'll double check the commission. Check that our lay stake is correct. In this case, it's $98.13. And then we'll check our liability. Make sure it's the same as on the Betfair bet slip. And then lastly, we'll double check that the liquidity that we have here under our lay odds on the exchange is the same as what we had originally on the ATM. And with my example here, the liquidity has changed. So for that, we'll make sure that we have auto refresh on the ATM. And sometimes even with auto refresh on the ATM, you still won't be getting a number that is the same as what you're seeing on Betfair. And this is just because the ATM isn't perfect. It's not able to pull its data in real time. So there will be a lag sometimes. Now, if you find yourself in this situation, you can just follow a rule of thumb. And that rule is that as long as the liquidity that you have here on Betfair is greater than the back stake, which in this case is our bonus bet, then we're good to go ahead with the trade. So in my case here, I see I have $1,078 in liquidity, and my back stake is a $125 bonus bet. So there's still plenty in there and we can go ahead with this trade. Now that we've checked all of that and we see that everything matches up, we can go ahead and start by placing our bookmaker bet first. Make sure you get a green tick and a receipt there to tell you that the bet has been accepted. And then we'll head over to Betfair, place bet, confirm bet. Again, we'll make sure that the entirety of our lay bet there is listed under matched bets. And if you have the entire bet unmatched, listed under the unmatched bets heading, then what you want to do is make sure that you click X on that bet, and then whether the lay price has moved or there's no longer enough liquidity, you can redo your calculations wherever necessary and then finish the trade. If you have a partially unmatched bet where you have some of the bet listed under matched bets and some of the bet listed under unmatched bets, then what you want to do is head down to the sub-lesson titled partially matched bets, click on that video, and I'll be able to run you through what to do. So if the entire lay bet has gone through and is listed under matched bets, then that means your trade has gone through, and we can head back over to the calculator and see that for this example, we've made $93.22. Now with that done, we'll make sure that we enter the trade that we've just made on our bet tracker before we move on to any other trades. And if you've had all of your bankroll used up by this trade, then you'll have to wait for that trade to conclude so you can get your bankroll and your profit back in order to be able to place the next trade. And on that as well, if you've decided to split up your bonus into smaller trades because you have a smaller bankroll, then you'll want to make sure that you turn over all of your bonus before you start doing any qualifying trades, as there is an expiry on the bonus cash. And for Ladbrokes, it's 7 days. So as long as you've done all that, we can move on to our qualifying trade. And we'll start by heading over to the ATM. We'll click on our SR button until we have one downward arrow. We'll set our bookmaker at Ladbrokes, our market at matched odds, and of course this time we don't need to put a max lay odds. So we'll look for a percentage loss of 5% or less. At the top here we can see on the North Melbourne versus Gold Coast game a loss of 2.79%. That's within our 5% limit. And then we head over to liquidity and we're looking for a max back stake that's greater than our back stake of $250. You can see here it says $288.30. So that's good. So with the percentage loss less than 5% and the max back stake greater than our $250 back stake, we can head over to the left and we'll copy our team. We'll head over to Ladbrokes first. Then we'll do the same over on Betfair. With that, we'll head over to our qualifying trade calculator and we'll fill it out. We'll click enter to get our lay stake and the amount we're going to need in our Betfair account. And just to make sure we're clear on this, the number here that we have under if backbet wins and if laybet wins is the amount we will lose. So it's not the percentage. So if you've seen this number here and it's come up greater than 5, there's a reason for that. It's because the number here represents the amount that we will lose, not the percentage. Now, if you want to put those odds into the calculator and double check that the odds that you have are creating a percentage loss that is still greater than 5%, you can just go up to the back stake there, and instead of writing 250, write 100. And if you do a $100 stake, the output of if backbet wins and if laybet wins is going to show you your percentage loss. The only reason I say this is because in module 3 and 4 with Tab and Sportsbet, all of our bets were staked at $100. So every single time we put a bet into the calculator, whether it was a bonus trade or a qualifying trade, we were seeing a percentage there because our stake was $100. So the percentage loss and the amount of money lost were the same. And of course with Ladbrokes it's a little different because we're not doing a $100 qualifying trade. So we'll copy our lay stake and take it over to Betfair. So with that in, we'll make sure that we check everything on the calculator. Check our back odds, lay odds, back stake, lay commission, lay stake, and liability. Make sure that we enter our back stake there. And then lastly, we'll check our liquidity, which is at 295, which is exactly the same as what we had originally on the ATM. So with that all checked, we can go ahead and start placing our bets. We'll start by placing our back bet over on Ladbrokes. And then we'll head over to Betfair and place our lay bet. Again, you want to make sure that the entirety of that bet is listed under match bets. If you have the entire bet listed under unmatched bets, you'll want to cancel that and re-enter your new lay odds if they have moved and recalculate everything, and then go ahead with your trade again after that. If you have a partial match on your lay bet, then you can head down to the sublesson titled partially matched bets. So if we head back to our qualifying and bonus trade calculators, we can take a look at how much I've made in this example. So on my qualifying trade, I lost $6.98, turning over my $250 balance. And then on my $125 bonus trade, I made $93.22. And then I also turned over the other $125 bonus that of course wasn't featured in this module because we were trying to use a bonus stake that was applicable for a standard bankroll. But I did turn over the other $125 bonus and made a profit of $95.63. So that has given me a total profit on these 3 trades on this first deposit match offer of $181.87. Now, with that said, we're going to take a look at our example qualifying and bonus trades after they've resulted. And if your bonus and qualifying trades haven't come through yet and they haven't resulted, I still recommend that you follow along with this part of the module and try and absorb as much as you can based on my example here. And then once your trades have come through, you can come back to this module and watch this part again and reference my example against the trades that you have placed and the results of those trades. So with these resulted trades, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the information that we are given from the resulted bet on the bookmaker. We're going to take a look at the information we get from the resulted bet on the betting exchange, and also some information that we have here on the calculator. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that information to ourselves definitively calculate what our profit is on this trade. And then we're going to compare that with what the calculator initially told us before the event happened would be our profit for this trade. So we'll start by taking a look at our qualifying trade. And to do that, we're going to first find our bookmaker bet. We'll do that by going into my account and clicking resulted bets. And you should see it come up at the top here. For our example, we had the Gold Coast Suns versus North Melbourne. And then we'll want to do the same over on Betfair. To do that, we'll go to my account, my bets. You'll click settled. And sometimes you may need to adjust the date range as well. So bets come up there. So if we take a look at our bookmaker bet here first, we'll see that our bet won, first of all, and it says that we paid out $330. Now, in reality, the amount that we've won on our bookmaker side is not $330 because that amount includes the stake that we put up. So we put in our $250 stake and we received our $250 stake plus our winnings back. So in this case, it's a $250 stake plus $80 in winnings to get our $330. And that's calculated by 250 times 1.32. So on this side, we're going to say that our back bet won $80. And this is also the reason why these bets are sometimes referred to as stake returned. And you may remember that we saw on the ATM that when we were doing our qualifying trade, we were clicking on the SR button. Now, that's what the acronym is. That's what that button was. That button meant stake returned. And you might be able to see where that relevance is here. We put in our $250 stake, and because it's a stake returned bet, we received our stake back with our winnings. So we get 250 times 1.32 to get 330. So that's why it's often called a stake return bet and why it is identified as such on the ATM. So whenever you hear stake returned or SR, think of just a normal cash bet. So again, on this side, we have won $80. And if we head over to Betfair to see what's happened on the other side, we can see that, of course, our lay bet has lost because whenever your back bet wins, your lay bet will always lose. If ever your back bet loses, it means your lay bet will always win. They can never both win or lose. That's the nature of back and lay bets. That is the nature of a trade. So our lay bet here has lost, and we have lost $86.98. And if you'll notice, the amount that we have lost is exactly the same as the liability on the bet. So that's an important thing to remember. The liability of a lay bet is how much you will lose if the lay bet does not win. So we've lost $86.98. And if we subtract the two here, we have the bookmaker bet where we won $80, which was 330, the winnings minus the 250 because that was just us getting the stake back. So we won $80 in our bookmaker bet and we lost $86 on our lay bet. And that gives us a total loss of $6.98. And if we head back to the qualifying trade calculator, you can see here that our expected loss, if back bet wins, which was the case, was $6.98. So we had that calculated, we had that sorted, and we knew that before the match even started. Now, let's assume that the lay bet wins this time, and we've also got $6.98 as the amount we will lose if the lay bet wins. So let's prove this right. Let's see if this number is right. So we're going to go back over to our bookmaker. And if we're assuming that this bet has lost, then that means that we're going to lose our $250 stake. So we put our $250 stake in, the bet doesn't win, so we lose all 250 of that. And if we head over to our exchange side, we'll see that this bet here, we did a lay stake of $255.81. Now, if you remember back to module 2, the amount that we win in a lay bet is the stake itself. That's something important to remember. The amount we win in a lay bet is the amount that we stake. Now, in reality, the amount that we actually win is the stake, but you minus the commission, because Betfair needs to take a cut. That's how their platform operates. They take a cut of all winning bets. So we take out 255.81 and we times it by 0.95 so that we get that minus 5% to get our final profit minus the commission. And that gives us 243.02. So if we take this amount of money that we've made here, which is 255.81 times 0.95, 243.02, and then we minus the 250 that we lost on our back bet, you'll see that we get the exact same. We get 6.98, which is exactly what we had here under if lay bet wins. Again, before the event even happened. So we see that our calculator, the calculator that we would lose $6.98, whether the back bet won and the lay bet lost, or the lay bet won and the back bet lost, was exactly correct before the event even happened. And one thing I do want to say one more time is that this back bet, this qualifying bet, is what we call an SR. So it's a stake returned. So remember, we have the $250. We win 250 times 1.32 to get 330. But remember, the stake is returned. So you always exclude the stake from the total amount that you returned to get your winnings for that bet. So it's 330 minus 250, and that'll give you your $80 in winnings, your real winnings. Often people will say, hey, I won $330 on this bet, when in reality, they didn't win that amount on the bet. They won the return minus how much they staked. Which in this case, if I were to say I won $330, I would be wrong. In reality, I've actually won $80. Now, next is the bonus trade, which was a bet on Leeds versus Liverpool. It was a $125 bonus trade, and it was at $5.20 odds. So we can see here that this bet has lost. So our $125 bonus bet did not come through, and it's lost. But we haven't lost $125. We've lost $0 because it was a bonus bet. It wasn't any sort of real money. We haven't lost any real money there. So on the bookmaker, the bonus back stake, we've lost 0. So if we head over to Betfair and we see our Leeds versus Liverpool game, we've won $98.13. But remember, whenever you see this profit number here on your Betfair bets, that number is not accurate. It doesn't include the commission. I'm not sure why Betfair does this, but they don't include the commission for one reason or another on the historical bets. But that's okay. We take our $98.13, it says here, and we times that by 0.95 to get the return minus the commission that Betfair takes. And that gives us $93.22. So we've lost our bonus bet here, which is equates to $0. We've lost $0 in our bookmaker bet, and we've won 98.13 times 0.95, which is 93.22. That gives us our profit of $93.22, which, as we can see on our initial bonus trade on the calculator, says if back bet wins, we win $93.22. So it was exactly right. Now let's do the same thing with our, assuming the lay bet has won. Let's see if the calculator is right if the opposite outcome happened. So we'd start over at Ladbrokes. We'll look at this bet here, and we're going to see what happens if this bet wins. Now, with a cash bet here, with an stake returned bet, you see that we put our stake in, we get our stake back plus our winnings. With a bonus bet, it is what's called a stake not returned. And if you remember back to the ATM, when we were selecting our bonus, we were selecting a bonus trade on the ATM, we were selecting the SNR button, and that stands for stake not returned. And what I mean by that is that the payout for this bet here does not include this $125 because it's not actually any real money. You haven't staked any of your money on this bet. You've only put in the bonus bet, which is just a credit. It's not anything real. So that means that it's not going to be 5.2 times 125. It's actually going to be 4.2 times 125, because you need to remove that 125. That is not included in your winnings. So to calculate winnings here, you do 4.2 times 125, and that gives you 525. So in this situation where our back bet has won, our bonus bet has won, we've won $525. And then if we head over to our lay bet, we can see that if the lay bet lost, remember, if a lay bet loses, we lose our liability, we would lose $431.77. So that would be 525 that we win on this back bet, 4.2 times 125. And then we lose $431.77. And guess what that gives us? That gives us $93.23 total profit. We still get exactly the same as we did with our back bet winning. It doesn't matter. So to reaffirm that a little bit, this bet here, this qualifying trade, the back bet we did for the back bet component of our qualifying trade was a stake returned bet. That means that our $250 comes back with our $80 worth of winnings. And that's calculated by 1.32 times the 250 to get our return. This bet here, our bonus bet, the back bet component of a bonus trade, is what's called a stake not returned. So again, we do not receive this $125 back with our winnings. We only receive the winnings component of the bet. So that means that we receive 4.2 times 125, which ends up being $525. So that's it for this module. If you guys had any problems with some of the terminology mentioned in this module, then you can head over to lesson resources and there's a glossary there at the bottom. If you had any other questions about any of the concepts covered in this video or anything else, then you can head over to the module description and you'll see a link there that will take you straight to the help email.